Andrew Nelson. He's coming in.
Joe, how are
Hey, pretty good. How's it going?
you? I'm well, thank you. I'm a Luddite. I I have issues with technology like you wouldn't believe,
Oh,
and of course, all my kids are absorbed in that technology. So
oh, okay. So
struggling here and there,
someone
but
got you logged on.
I had to ask my 9-year-old son.
Okay, no problem at all.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing it. I'm sorry we just seem to have lost the first one, but you know, we're gonna do an even better one.
Yeah, no, right on. Yep, no. So apparently you'll have technical issues as well.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah.
cool,
Cool.
man. Well, it's
So
nice to chat with you. I appreciate you inviting me again.
yeah,
Yeah, I
absolutely.
thought we had a great talk last time. So yeah,
Yeah, me too. Yeah, and I thought I think the other guys I talked to from Workers' Party are maybe not running anymore, so it's good to have someone who is.
yeah.
uh,
At this point, I'm running for my office, and that is all the offer Workers' Party is offering at this point.
okay.
So. Uh,
Well, that's not bad. I mean, because again, I think, you guys are doing the right thing by starting small, um, but at a noticeable level. It's not like um it's one thing like I mean, I've seen like Working Families Party just got some Philadelphia City Council seats, but like you're running at a state level, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm running for state senate. Excuse me, state rep from Second Bristol. Uh,
Cool.
um, it's a valid campaign. I am on the ballot. We secured our signatures long ago with the help of several comrades, and we had been out there gathering signatures uh, for a long time, and it's a grueling process. A lot of these campaigns, they pay people to do it, and it's there's really no. I don't want to say not solidarity, but their workers sort of um, supporting something that they think they want and it's not really true and they're getting paid for it, where
Yeah.
ours is a completely grassroots volunteer sort of scenario.
Yeah. You mean like um the two two big parties or like other third parties or
Yeah, I mean all of them.
okay.
But at the same time, the grassroots third parties do have to put in work too,
Yeah.
and they're struggling too. It's not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to ask, um, and you need to be diligent and forthright. And so we've struggled with a little bit of that, but I also think that's a good thing. Going through some trials and tribulations and learning. And we've been rewriting some of our how to run for office, inner workings. Focusing on how best we can do this without alienating, without overtaxing ourselves. We also all work full-time jobs or part-time jobs
Yeah.
or have disabilities or have kids, and none of this is made easy, but yeah, my attacks aren't for necessarily the third parties. It's more of the duopoly.
Yeah, yeah, no, and that's definitely I mean it's a real problem though that like I think you have um certain kind of institutionalized uh third parties like the Green Party who kind of have been coasting for years like it's just that seems more and I don't want to put them too on blast because I know like the state parties are different and whatever but yeah, it does seem like the Workers' Party is really trying to do it right, and it's okay to have a few starts and stops in the process there. But yeah, I mean, it's a serious party. Like you guys are on the you've been on ballots at least since 2020, I believe, because I think I voted for one of your candidates then. Um, and it's I forgot what I was gonna say, but yeah, no, I remember voting for you guys then. So
Yeah, yeah, no. We've achieved some goals as far as getting on ballots. We've had, over 60,000 votes in the last election cycle, the 2022 election cycle. Um, so there's traction there. As silly as it sounds, more Workers' Party information is being shared throughout what I see as a, yeah, in the social media platform, sort of leftist or progressive movements. So that's all a positive. And again, this is all learning experience, and um, nobody can just show up and, I don't know, formulate a party, uh, into the ether without some hard work.
yeah,
So it's just been a lot of hard work, and a lot of struggle and whatnot, but it's worth it. That's the whole point. And
right.
gaining that traction, or even having a platform here to discuss is a positive thing. So
Yeah, and like you said, the you guys are workers. You have jobs and families and all of that. Um, whereas a lot of what we see, whatever party it is, a lot of what we see with candidates is suddenly they're pushed upon us by ads or whatever, and it's like, um, you know, look, I'm an all-American guy with a family and whatever, and it's like, okay, but you haven't. A lot of times these people have quit their real job or they've never really had a real job. They've just sort of done things that would get them to that position to be pushed in front of you. And yeah, it's, I think people should,
little gold stars pinned on their chest for accomplishing, somewhat, things that I guess the public would appreciate. It's
yes,
it's all sort of
yes.
a propaganda tactic. But
Yeah, I've been thinking about that with the sort of military angle, the way that you know, there's the Republicans version with JD Vance, who clearly this guy like, you know, got was in the military for some photo ops and to say, "Hey, I was in the military." Um then he's just connected to like venture capitalists and shit. And then like Pete Buttigieg on the Democrat side is the same thing. Like you see his pictures in the military where he's wearing like clearly like a uniform just out of the box. It's like you can see the folds in it. Like
sure. And I always counter that as, okay, um is their opinion more valid than mine,
right.
or Sophia's that works down at the Shell, down the street, because they served in the military? Like, I'm not uplifting them because they have some sort of erudite, proudness to them, or more American sort of, uh, whatever
Yeah.
they're projecting.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's sort of a bastardization of like because look, I do value the opinion of like people who have served in the military when they're honest about what that means and what what like the implications of the US military are. Um, but yeah, just as sort of like a gold star, like uh, you know, it's he protected he protected our freedoms overseas, and it's like, well, you're just say if you're all gonna say the same things, it doesn't matter. Like you could have a
That's
veteran say it or not. It's just
yeah, that's the fundamental point. It's almost silly. You know, I'm sorry what you were doing in Kuwait, but you weren't protecting my freedoms there.
yeah.
Or, you know, we've got a lot of people here that need homes. So maybe your flight there and your military base might not be in the best interests of the people that we live around and work with every day.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's it's something that you know, I think people's eyes glaze over when you talk about foreign policy and stuff. Um, especially on the like local level, I guess, but uh yeah, it's people understand like veteran and uh military service, but then if you can't really talk about what's happening overseas without people being like, no, no, I care about what's happening here. Like, what? Well, it's actually connected. I don't know if people realize that, all the billions going overseas to Israel and the Ukraine and or Ukraine, it's not the Ukraine, and wherever else is money that's not going into what's people's needs here, and people say they care about that, but you got to make the connection or you're not going to realize why we're failing to meet people's needs here. It's the Eisenhower speech.
Yeah, it's a created fantasy. It's a big scary story that's just propaganda at its best. You know, when gathering signatures, a lot of people said illegal immigrants. That term kept coming up. Uh, the only reason it did come up is because it was propagated for the past 2.5, 3 years. It was an issue. Uh, Kids in cages wasn't an issue unless it was an election year. Our excessive military CIA performances have led to what people are now complaining about, and they're only complaining about it because it's fed to them through propaganda means, the New
Yeah.
York Times, CNN, what Fox News. I'm not. I'm more scared of liberals than I am of. Uh, we know what the right wing is, the far right. We don't know what liberals are capable of, but they're proving it right now. Um,
Yeah. No, that's an interesting perspective, having like talked to as many people as I'm sure you have at this point. Um like so it does seem, because it seems this way, for me, and I'm not like um going out and directly talking to people as much, but just from the overview I get on the internet and keeping up with news, it does seem like uh the the Republicans have propagated this for so long, and now the Democrats have really fully bought into it, and liberals have really just been along for the ride. They're just like, oh, well, if Biden's going to do it, if Kamala's going to do it, then it's good.
I mean, that's their policy. They're acquiescing to the right wing, and the whole ratchet effect thing. You know, um, Abandoning any sort of leftist policy, uh,
Yeah.
particularly with regards to that, and it's scary. The Again, I'll mention getting signatures. It's easier. It was easier for several of us to get signatures from right wing leaning Republican people. Uh, Leftist, excuse me, not leftist, liberals absolutely refuse to discuss policy and have been shamed publicly, you know, um, aggressively
Wow.
by liberals because they don't want to discuss that policy. They
Right.
want to wash their hands with anything. Um, that could possibly be deemed contentious. They just want to return back to their gardening and their brunch.
Yeah.
And that's a gross, overstatement, but that's really what we've seen over and over again. Um,
Yeah.
uh, so it's disheartening.
Yeah.
At this point, the Democratic Party, the Liberal Party, it's abandoning you faster than you can imagine, and we can't trust them more than we can't trust the right, the far right Republicans. Like
Yeah.
it's a dangerous, slippery slope here.
Right. Yeah, that's sort of the not to get too Marxian here, but that's sort of the dialectic of
Please do.
the
That's okay.
of the two party system. Whereas, I think for most people, and rightfully so, is that we imagine that the kind of corporate interests and stuff go straight to Republicans because that's just the sole purpose of that party and always kind of has been, since after Lincoln died, I guess. But like, um, but
And they're crystal clear about it,
right,
you know.
right, and that's so like, yeah, that's what we expect, and I think it's true. I think that the corporate interests do go immediately that way, but it's a little bit it gets a little muddled when you start talking to like people, like voters who actually vote for one party or the other. Because I think a lot of Republicans, a lot of them are, rich people who want to stay rich and they don't, that's about it. But like a lot of them are people who are reacting to being left behind and being just kind of working people who want very basic um needs to be met that aren't being so. And unfortunately, especially in the kind of society we have, it's very easy to just go like reactionary right wing with that feeling because there's uh so rarely another option. You saw even Bernie Sanders was able to reach some of those people. So like yeah, it's somehow like, yeah, on some level it's surprising, but also it's a little bit not surprising that like you would go to the door of some Republican voters and they'd be like, oh, a workers party, okay, I'll hear you out. Whereas liberals, how many of them are professional managerial class, like we might say upper middle class, finance wise, and just live this in this comfortable bubble and feel like, there's a lot about the Democratic Party they can tell themselves like, oh well, the Democratic Party helps people, and like there's the marginalized people aren't under attack by their legislation all the time the way Republicans. So they can kind of tell themselves that, but really they just don't want to deal with that shit, and they'll kind of put up with almost anything if they can just stay in their comfortable bubble.
Uh, yeah, 100%. This is a duopoly. This is phony opposition. There might be one or two small social issues that they differ on, but in reality, legally, you know, nothing is actually advancing. Nothing is progressing. It's a matter of fact regressing into fascism, and it's very clear. And we're being sold out so quickly. And I don't hate, I don't blame the propagandized right wing. They want to lower taxes. They think that you know um, illegal aliens are an issue when they're not. Um, but they've been propagandized so thoroughly that is the issue. Democrats actually can't do anything to sustain any of their policies, and as of today, I'm pretty sure they don't have it.
Don't have any
There,
policies. Yeah.
there's literally no policy. Uh, you know, uh,
Yeah.
Kamala is being told to withhold her policy until after the election by Democratic servicemen. So I don't know where that puts you with regards to fascism, as in
Mhm.
like
Right.
you're hiding your policy. You don't even have one. You're just challenging something. I don't blame the uneducated. It's by design,
Yeah.
and they've been led astray for you know yeah the, the Eisenhower years. Um, and there is nothing about the Democratic uh, policy here or their campaign that could possibly project any joy or hope. Other than that, you feel better about yourself because you think what they're saying is actually true when it's clearly a lie. At least the Republicans don't really lie about it.
Right. Yeah, I think I'm always like uh I'm always surprised because I think that there's no new low that they can get to, and I'm like, oh, I'm as tapped out as you can be from the Democratic Party. But then something happens, like the DNC this year, where, Kamala Harris is giving this jingoistic, like, you know, just most lethal military in the world speech, um that to thunderous applause, and it's like it's horrifying. And then you see like uh the staffers walking back, like holding their ears as like Palestine
Covering their ears.
protesters.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
They're reading the names of the children who have died, and these people are rolling their eyes, holding their ears, mocking them. It's like it's just
Oh,
wild.
they're also reacting with violence,
Yeah,
even in the convention.
yeah, hitting people with signs, and yeah,
Yeah, like this isn't a Democratic Party of what you're maybe Michael Dukakis might have been the first one I remember, but yeah, this isn't a normal progressive party. This
no,
is
yeah. And I remember in
fascism incarnate.
Yeah, and I remember, especially in 2016, Trump was pretty unhinged, and uh the way that people would act at those rallies, you know, pretty just open violence against people who were there to protest or whatever. And people would say, "Look, see, like that's the difference, is at least like you're not going to be like violently pushed out of the Democratic Party." And now it's like, oh, maybe you are.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
That's what's so horrifying. In
yeah,
just a few years, um,
yeah,
we've gone, full blown here. And for those who can't see it, I'm so sad or angry. I'm angry.
yeah. Yeah, it's I don't know, I feel like people don't think they have another option, but at least in in your district they do.
So yeah, in my district, Attleboro State Representative, second Bristol. We're just looking for another voice, not somebody that's going to celebrate. The Attleboro Democratic Committee keeps having standouts for Harris Waltz, and they're literally using the signs that say, I'll have to look it up, but something about a Harris Waltz bomb. Um,
Oh,
you've got the Harris campaign like stealing PSL signs and covering up the actual
oh yeah.
PSL information on the bottom of their signs. Taking progressive um, leaning, actual people out there doing the work and then using it for their own campaign. Just horribly disgusting. Uh,
Yeah.
Again, Walt's a veteran. Harris, she's a cop. Like, what do you think is going to happen? We've expanded police presence. We've expanded cop cities. There are over 100 cop cities nationwide. It's just a matter of time. Even in our comrades in Holyoke, they're followed by multiple police cameras, shot cameras. Anybody who happens to rest under this particular bridge is being pulled aside, arrested without cause.
Yeah.
We're, this is just a small sample in our local town. Thank God, Sandra Birchmore's, um, uh, uh, you know, her trial is finally getting some notoriety because these are local police.
Yeah.
These are local police that are committing atrocities. These are local fascists. So it's not very far away.
Right.
It's not grandiose. We don't have to go to Palestine so far to realize, the actions of our government here.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Well, a lot of our police get training from the IDF directly. Uh,
Massachusetts State Police too. Yep, yep.
yeah. And sorry, what was the name you just mentioned? Sandra?
Yeah, Sandra Birchmore um, was groomed and assaulted by several Abington police officers. Uh, she ended up dying by suicide while pregnant with one of the officers' um, children.
Was this the like teenager or was
Yes.
she okay? I think I heard about
Um,
this. Yeah.
yeah. So charges just came um, for excuse me, Stoughton, not Abington. I believe the officer left for Abington, but at least he was indicted this week for strangling and um, impregnating a youth through grooming methods, through pro police standouts in school and officers and classrooms, etc.
Yeah.
Uh, so
Yeah, and I think it's worth noting that almost any like police not precinct but like department that happens to be looked into by the Department of Justice, you will find stuff like this. And you'll find like there's been a shocking number of like massive like fentanyl drug rings in police departments. Meanwhile, the propaganda they put out is that like fentanyl's everywhere and it's the drug dealers and look, this cop is dying because he touched it with his pinky or something. And it's like like no, really? They're dealing it and they're doing
yeah,
like
in California, it was I believe a female police chief or captain that was providing millions of dollars. She was
yeah,
the head of the fentanyl ring. Yeah.
yeah. So whether it's
And
that,
again, this is all propaganda. Like,
yeah.
they
So like
touched
whether
fentanyl.
whether it's that or like, raping teenagers or just, like massive racial bias that is kept under wraps. Like this is what comes out anytime a police department is, and like, okay, fine, like someone's gonna pull up like, oh, this one in Wisconsin is fine. Like, okay, fine. But like almost any department that's looked into, you find this stuff because that is just a uh running
It's
um
business practice. Yeah,
yeah, it's because it's all like, connected to the way that policing has worked forever in this country, which is, 100 years ago they were busting unions and 50 years before that they were catching slaves and like it's insane. Um so well, yeah, another 100 years probably, but like that's really just
right.
it's a continuous line. Like this is, sure, it's different people, but it's just the same institution.
The
So
same institute. Yeah, but disavowing the free elections in South American countries. Like this is what we do.
yeah, yeah,
This is as a state. And when is it that your 401k and your brunch are going to be interrupted
right,
by by this? when
right.
when is it time?
Which is
Because it
which,
will be time, because you're not going to be able to go to Martha's Vineyard anymore, because
yeah,
it's going to be underwater.
Yeah.
You're
Right.
not going to be able to travel globally because you are a terrorist,
Mm. Right.
not the other way around. We've got BRICS nations lining up at the door,
Yeah. Yeah. And
and
they're banning like
and thank God
Israelis.
for that. Yep,
Yeah.
yeah, because yeah. Um, so I don't know if we get off topic, get a
No,
little
no,
excited, but
it's all relevant, and I do bring it up to say that like sometimes our DOJ looks into this stuff. Who knows why? Maybe it's just so bad in one spot they can't ignore it, or whatever it is. They want some win for Biden, whatever. But like the reality of like a workers' party or socialist party is that very likely the there would be an appetite to go after more of this and expose it and start to overturn kind of this system of policing. Not that there wouldn't be any kind of like, uh, community defense or law enforcement, but like to overturn the system as it works, um, I think would be much more of an appetite by socialists and people organically coming out of just the working class, taking taking office.
the funny thing is people don't realize they agree with 98% of what we discuss, what our platform is.
Yeah,
They don't they don't they Johnny Blue Collar complains about the cop making triple time on the sidewalk. you
right.
know um this lady can't take a bus because our funding is going to all these crazy places that aren't helping anybody. So while they feel it, they feel like they don't have any strength, and that's kind of what we need to build up.
Yeah,
Is uh, our numbers, clearly are advantageous, and we need to promote that in an easier way. Okay, what is your issue this week? Oh, I can't get to work because the bus. Okay. All right. Well, the bus is shut down because of clerical errors. This has happened to GAPTRA in Attleboro several times. Oh, actually, labor strikes have caused them to not, operate buses. So your
right.
grandma can't go to church on Sunday that she usually takes the bus to. What are we doing here? Can we do this simply start here and then work out? I mean, yes and no, but we need to just have these people realize their collective power. Because again, like I said, the Republicans have gotten signatures for the liberals. That there's still some sort of social well-being that they look forward to. Otherwise, they're completely they don't want anything to do with it because they know they can't gain anything. They know they can't lose more, or actually, they know they can lose more. So why bet on losing more? Um,
Right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean it's a tough starting point, you know. That's the understatement of the century for socialists, but like uh, um I guess yeah, what is kind of your approach to uh your campaign and just winning people over to the Workers' Party in general? Because like I'm sure our conversation has demonstrated there's so many ways you can go with this, and there's so many uh you know little problems coming from this overarching problem. So like what how do you kind of narrow it down for people?
our strategy is plain and simple. It's in our Workers' Party platform, workerspartymass.org. Um, that is what I represent. That is what I'm about, and um, I will not fold. Will not cater to some things that we're not making our adjustments. The adjustments are going to have to be made for us. So we demand certain things. We
Right.
demand housing. We demand justice. We demand, you know, uh, a look at Elbit Systems. The Workers' Party, in conjunction with several other parties shut down Elbit Systems. We worked together
Yeah.
in Cambridge, either, anyways. You know,
Yeah.
I don't, my platform, my policy is the Workers' Party platform and policy. And it's very simple.
Yeah.
If again, it's workerspartymass.org, and you can find the platform page. uh, that's what we're about. That's what we're trying to refine, monthly, weekly, daily. uh,
Yeah.
but that is what my campaign is about. um, Again, I'm running against Jim Hawkins. He's a nice old man, nice teacher. I think he likes swimming and fishing. But he
Okay.
also is supporting a duopoly that's perpetrating genocide.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, they're, his support of Kamala Harris, who demanded that prisons maintain their their quorum, so they can fight fires for free, and that their labor force would be weakened if they release prisoners early. That's who we're fighting against. We're fighting against this monster,
Yep.
who's trying to sell you snake oil.
Yeah.
They're not fighting for women's rights or equality. They're not doing any of that.
Right.
This is business as usual. As a father of three, I can tell you like how expensive it is to raise a family by, you know for dollars during the week. It's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
Um, and people are being let down left and right.
Yeah.
Your cars are exploding. We have no mass transit. We have three jobs.
Right. Yeah, it's nuts. I mean, I can't imagine. Like my wife and I are finally at like just about a stable financial situation. And still like, pretty much everything goes on the credit card and then we just throw as much as we can at the credit card at the end of the month. Like that's kind of just how it goes. But like at least it's not, maxing out. We're not, getting stuck and begging for help. But that's just the two of us, like, and we had a cat until recently. Like, this is not like trying to raise kids. Um, and it's ridiculous. We're both like professionals. Like, I mean, not like lawyers or whatever, but like, we both have like real full-time jobs and like, it's just insane. Like what wages suck and there's nothing you can do about it.
There's the illusion of freedom here. There's the
Yeah.
illusion of choice, and yeah, go to the grocery store and tell me that you have all the choices in the world. You
Right.
don't.
Yeah.
um, so yeah, disgruntled is, part of my campaign. It's gonna be. I'm mad. I'm
Yeah.
mad.
Yeah.
The workers are mad, and if they're not, then they're not paying attention.
Right.
And I don't
Um,
mean to discredit them, saying they're not paying attention, but here's
mhm.
why you should be mad. Or
Right. Well, it's so like the duop the like supposed kind of rivalry between the two main parties is such a effective shiny object. Like that's why people are distracted. It's just such an effective distraction. Like because you can make anyone understand this. It's not complicated shit, but like whereas I think maybe in these, more kind of semi-feudal states in the 20th century where socialist revolutions happened, it was a little easier to be like, hey, that dictator, he's working for the empire, and that's why you're fucking poor. And then and then it was like, oh yeah, let's have a revolution. This like,
oh yeah,
but like, but the way that it works now is like, they've given enough people enough to lose that it's harder to be like, oh, okay, yeah, I see the big picture here, and really like they're both our enemies, even though one of them is always appealing to me, saying that they're not my enemy and they're going to do this and that against my enemy. But my enemy is so bad that they always fail, and like we need more seats in the Senate. Like it's just like such an effective way to get like PMC liberals to be like no, yeah, we got to keep doing it right.
The U.S. propaganda machine is the greatest invention, the most successful um, technology, etc., that's ever been created in the history of humanity.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, you've befuddled and fooled, 300 and what 40 million now, as well as most of the other Western nations, um, through just the greatest propaganda campaigns of all time.
yeah,
Uneducated. It's silly,
right,
but it is the single most effective thing I've ever. It's almost more important than the wheel. Uh,
right,
that's how serious U.S. propaganda is. If
yeah,
the workers realized their strength, we wouldn't have 900 military bases
right,
globally, and we wouldn't be thanking a veteran for our freedoms
right,
because he, sniped a farmer in Vietnam,
yeah,
um, when he was 17. You stuff like
yeah.
that. It's
And
just
lost his legs and got no health care because of it, like in
and
favor.
yeah, now lives in his car, right, without his legs, and
Yeah,
you know, so there's a clear example of uh, the duopoly abandoning the worker,
yeah,
the American, the American, you know.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, it was Che Guevara once said that he envies the Americans because we have like the most important job of all, taking down the belly of the beast. I don't know if he realized how fucking hard that was going to be, but
Yeah.
that's- he led a couple too many successful revolutions to to really contextualize how bad the US is.
I mean, I envy the guy that is just happy and goes bowling on Sundays
Yeah,
and shoots golf on Thursdays and has a nice little car in his driveway. But
yeah. Yeah,
um
but that's frankly like I think that was this might get mythologized a little bit in the zeitgeist, but like the way that the mid 20th century was for a lot of Americans, I think was more along those lines, and that's why maybe people think that it can work, is that people had like a livable middle class life and felt like, oh yeah, okay, this kind of works. But I think I would try to get people to understand like even that little bit of like just stability they allowed to working families uh was too much for them, was too much
and
for the capital
and it
interests.
came with the blood of
Well,
organized
oh yeah, of
workers,
course.
and
Yeah,
um so yeah, even that little slice of life
right.
is needed to be taken.
Yeah,
It wasn't given, and none of these things are ever going to be given.
right.
Um, so we need to take them. We
Yeah,
need to challenge them, anyways. Um, don't sue us off the ballot.
right.
They're doing that in South Carolina. Uh, if we're trying to save democracy, then
Yeah,
shouldn't it be democratic?
right. Yeah, it's insane to allow the Democratic Party to turn you against powerless third parties that like uh it just obviously are not like harming you in the way that Democrats and Republicans are, but also just want to run candidates, like just want to like participate in the fucking system we're told is so great. Um and yeah, it's crazy to allow them to turn you against that, um because now it's like um it's like common knowledge to people that like, oh, the Green Party steals elections from Democrats. And it's like, what the hell are you talking about? Like the what is it, 92 that the Green Party like started running presidential candidates? And like I'm sorry, like Clinton beat the Green Party twice and Obama beat the Green Party twice and Biden beat the Green Party. Like it's not like the hardest thing to to fucking win when there's a Green Party candidate in the election. It's a little bit ridiculous. And they completely erase the fact that the Bush family stole the 2000 election. They just blame Nader for getting 2% of the vote. Um, when Gore won the popular vote and would have won Florida. But like it's just insane.
What's insane to me is that there are just two parties and then maybe a Green Party mixed in. I mean, America is a country of immigrants, through genocide, are a country of immigrants
Mhm.
with thousands of different backgrounds and beliefs. So you're telling me there's only two parties?
Right.
So you're already buying into a system that, like, logistically does not make any sense
Yeah.
at all. It fundamentally falls apart when you just say, okay, there are, you know, 100 different religions and 100 different races here in America.
Yeah.
So here's two white people, or
Right.
I mean, I guess it's different now. That's
Yeah.
acquiescing to libs so they can feel girl boss power.
Right.
If a girl can drop a bomb, why can't a man? I
Yeah.
guess
Yeah.
sort of
Um,
phony optics
right.
is what I mean. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Not anything more than that.
So I'm interested in what you said a little while ago about meeting people's basic needs and how that's like the emergency. That's the immediate um need is like people are unhoused. People are housing insecure. Like it's not even, when we talk about homelessness, it's like, well, yeah, but there are people like on the brink of it too. Like you gotta even factor that in. Um, and just the cost of living when it comes to housing and food and whatever else, and um, lack of education and all of this stuff. Um, you know, is Jasmine Sherman is a independent socialist candidate for president. She's unfortunately not gotten as much traction as she hoped, and she put a lot of work into getting on ballots and stuff. But you know,
It's
the
not
climate
hard.
is what it
It's not
is. But
easy. It's
yeah,
not easy. Yeah.
but she has a very interesting plan um that she said, if she got into office, she would um really, like, if necessary, by executive order, but however it needs to be done, by like just make it like a mandate to like house everybody and feed everybody and educate everybody. And it's like these are the things we need to get done. So short of like winning the presidency, um, and even winning elections, I guess, because parties can do more than run candidates. What is the does the Workers' Party have any thoughts on like uh you know uh, kind of meeting some of these needs
Well,
where they're most acute?
when sure. So housing, feeding, transportation, these are simple steps to make to give access to everybody. Um, Abandoning disability uh, caps, if you will. Um, People in this system will need to get to work. They need a house. They need transportation. What we can do is simply reroute our expenses and our taxes to work for them. Um, Housing projects for everybody. Uh, I'm not sure how this is an issue when we're privatizing everything. We're trying to privatize the MBTA, which is a defunct, barely workable
Yeah.
system right now, anyways. Um, there should be no way that the MBTA head is making $200,000 a year. He needs to be making a normal worker's salary for a normal job here.
Yeah.
Now, as far as getting together with communities and whatnot, we're not there yet. We need to grow our party.
Yeah.
So we need to get 3% of the vote. Uh, if we get 3% of the vote, then we'll be officially on ballots. And that way we can work with these, community. They can't ignore us anymore. They can ignore us now, or they can brush us off, or not vote for us. So we need to get this message out
Yeah.
that yes, your life matters, you're valued, you deserve a house, you deserve education, you deserve all the simple things that can make your life easier. I'm I'm about to turn 41, and some people say I'm middle aged. No, middle aged was like a while ago because I've got a few years left,
Right.
good years. But I'm lucky.
Yeah.
I'm lucky. And people that don't have their basic needs met. How can we do all these other grandiose projects? We're not even protecting our kids. We're passing, uh, anti-LGBTQ laws. Like we're not even doing the simplest of things, protecting our people here,
Yeah.
which is what America is, right? We're all in a melting pot. We're all the workers. So the quicker we can do those things, immediately address simple things like housing
Yeah.
and education, then we can move on from there. But as far as a written plan, no, I haven't spoken to superintendents.
Mhm.
I don't parlay with the the elites. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, it's an interesting point about the middle age thing because, yeah, people will say middle age for like 50-year-olds. And it's like, not everyone lives to 100, man. Like the life expectancy is what, 76, 77 here? Um, we recently got lapped by Cuba. I don't know if people realize. Oh, it's just
yeah,
by a little
the
bit, but like
country
they're going
that's
up and we're going down.
curing cancer, and despite all their sanctions and
Yeah.
embargoes, but
Yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think it's important to congregate the workers in a party, if not multiple. There's PSL, like you mentioned, and um, DSA if they want to abandon the Democrats, that'd be cool. It's quite it'd be quite a big organization to break
it'd be
away.
tough to get them to do, but
Yeah,
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 I mean, you got to start somewhere, anyways.
yeah,
When your town is paying two police chiefs for several years, and one is literally missing in action and deemed unfit to serve. And this is in Mansfield.
okay,
Um, what are we doing? So they're closing down high schools, or offering early retirement for Brockton teachers. And what I believe Danvers Hospital just closed today, or was it yesterday? They shut
really,
down two hospitals in Brockton area. Um, what are we doing here? We're not providing a service. We're
yeah,
overpaying a police officer who ranted and raved and attacked people in his own office and was deemed unfit for service, without any mention to the public for 2 years.
yeah,
Excuse me, at least a year, maybe not 2 years. Um, this is what our local government is doing. Like that's huge.
yeah,
This isn't, like I said, this isn't LA, or you know somewhere you read in the paper every morning. This is literally happening around the corner.
yeah,
We've got a police chief stealing funds, wife gets on a school board and then lays off a dozen teachers, predominantly black and white, predominantly black and
Yeah.
of older age.
Yeah,
Um,
of course. Yeah.
those are
That's
those are things we can address here quickly,
mhm.
but we need a platform.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, and one thing I would remind people of is to just look at where, and it's hard to get people to do this in America, but like look at like some of the places in Europe um where workers do better, and it's like, yeah, well, Finland's not a socialist country, Denmark's not a socialist country, they're not, but like the fact is, and people don't realize this, it's not that they found some perfect balance between socialism and capitalism. They had socialists in the government for many, many decades. And just by having socialists participate in a bourgeois democracy, uh, they improved so much about life under capitalism, um, that it fools people here into thinking that it's not capitalism. Like that's the thing, and it's like, in Vienna they have an amazing public and social housing program. In Finland they're eradicating homelessness, all this stuff, and it's like, yeah, dude, it's not. It's again, it's not that they're neoliberals were like, hey, you know what? Actually, let's help people. It's because enough Andrew Nelsons had their own party that was able to participate in the system, and so even there, it got a lot better. And again, they're taking it back in a lot of ways, but you don't
Yes,
get
sure.
anywhere by begging from Democrats and Republicans.
No, no, we want traction, and like I said, we have a list of demands,
Yeah,
and I feel there are plenty of people that are so disillusioned with the whole process. I mean,
yeah,
it's proven. Um, you're not gaining anything or winning anything with our system now. You're
right,
losing.
yeah,
I mean, uh, you got a 4% raise. That's actually a 3% pay cut because inflation's at 7 this year. In
yeah,
January. um, if people just understand that, it's easy. Uh, but you're fighting. Oh no, you just want Trump to win. Like,
right,
no,
yeah.
no,
I
that's not it.
so well, I imagine, like what kind of traction have you seen with or I don't know if you know this when you're talking to someone, but like what kind of traction do you see from people who don't normally vote or who aren't registered to vote?
Um, it's interesting. Um, I would say uh, I've often used the term pro labor or pro union,
Yeah,
and people appreciate that, and anti war,
right,
and those two have gained the most traction when with regards to communicating with the public.
right.
Um, uh, and it could work both ways. You could be anti-union or pro-war, uh, but you'll still appreciate that. Um, and yeah, they'll still sign, just because it should be a core belief, right? We should be having a debate. I
Yeah.
mean, in this democracy, I mean, not really. It'll all be settled in a few hundred years if we're still around. But
Yeah, right. Um, yeah, I know I wonder about that because I think when we have like these like back and forth arguments all like throughout these election years that are such a nightmare. And I don't think people realize like we're talking about like 40% of the like voting eligible population.
yeah,
Like
130 million people don't vote.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a large percentage.
Yeah.
And why?
So
Because their interests aren't being mainstreamed.
right.
They won't be addressed.
Yeah. Yeah, again, it's like Bernie Sanders was just like a taste of people being offered like here, what if I met your needs? Like what what if I played to your interests? And
and
they're
it
like, yep.
blew up.
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
he could have been the presidential nominee if the Democrats didn't RF him.
Yeah.
Um, now he's just a corporate shill, a
Yeah.
shell of
It's
himself, and he should really hang him up. But he was inspiring
yeah.
back then.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think people don't be afraid to move past him. Like it's totally fine to have been like at that time I was sort of, uh sort of my mind was sort of oriented this direction, but I wasn't calling myself a socialist. I wasn't like but Bernie Sanders was really inspiring to me. And then as time went on, I looked at the way things were going. I read more and learned more and learned about history and all this stuff. And you find that like, okay, yeah, like I do like some of what Bernie Sanders was doing, but also the way he tried to do it isn't necessarily how it gets done in places where, the working class wins. So it's okay to be more more radical than Bernie Sanders, I guess.
No, I mean, I appreciate what you said. Yeah, everybody starts somewhere. You learn from this book, and you move on, and you move on.
Yeah.
And he was somewhat enlightening.
Yeah. Well, like
I just wish we could maintain that.
yeah.
Now, his shit was co-op. Pardon me, his stuff was co-opted. You know, M4A. Now it's not even a discussion anymore.
Yeah.
Um, we're not talking about closing borders, which wasn't even his presidential election. Like,
Right.
excuse me, closing our concentration
Right,
camps that we
right.
run on U.S. soil. Um, all those things are washed away because that's what Democrats and liberals do.
Yeah.
They water it down. They co-opt your message, your movement, and then abandon it.
Yeah.
So it's not even being the fact that it's not even being discussed when it was such a high priority 8 years ago is scary and
Yeah.
shocking.
It is. Yeah, I was looking like I've been seeing what some of AOC has been saying lately, and it's really um it's disturbing because I think that, is she like just completely full of shit and played us the whole time? Maybe, but like I think also she's just like being eaten alive by the party. Like that's just how it goes. And she's sort of like, okay, well, I want to like maintain this position so I can do what I can and like maybe I have to like kind of make nice with Kamala Harris, but I still say this outside of the DNC and like it's like I don't think that's going to work, AOC. Like it's to a certain extent, it's like okay, maybe she's full of shit, but like also even if she's not, there's just not enough people like her in the party and in Congress, and I don't know if there could ever be because of the way the Democrats and APAC are just going to like take you
I
down.
was just gonna say, like, the strongest U.S. leader doesn't even live here. He's a foreign national.
Yeah,
That he's the most powerful person in government
yeah.
at this point.
He's from
But
Philly
how
though.
but how quickly AOC turned into a Democratic shill. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, for a moment there, you were like, oh, okay, and then now it's clear. 8 years ago, it was, whoa, whoa, is this an awakening? Is this an enlightening? At least for a young leftist. And now it's clear that no, that will
right.
never be possible unless you organize and get out there. So,
Yes,
um,
yes. Um, yeah, I think some of the, best moments we had in terms of working class movements in the US were um the uh the I guess the Coal Wars is part of it, but like just the early labor movement in the late 19th and early 20th centuries when um this was scary. Like people don't know. Like coal miners went to war literally with guns, with
Oh no, yeah, met
yeah,
300 cops with assault
yeah.
weapons, and yeah,
And
on a
that scared the
Sunday. Yeah,
shit out of our leadership. And it ended, it got us to a point where labor unions were ubiquitous, where FDR, who, again, liberal Democrat, but like he was certainly under the influence of some of the interests of socialist parties, and we got the NLRB out of that. Um, and then the closest I think we got to a real like socialist revolution is the Black Panthers, because they built their own thing. They were not afraid to defend themselves, like meaning carry guns, um, and they were not
same.
afraid to name the real enemy and just be blunt and honest about this. And like you said, they had the numbers at certain points. They were doing like community defense, free breakfast for kids, like all this stuff. That yeah, when the government
It's when
abandons
gun
you.
laws came into
Yep.
yeah, I mean, 40 years before that, you had Upton Sinclair's The Jungle. Now we have all of a sudden we're letting the pig farmers moderate their own food production. And look, there's a listeria outbreak. So we had workers' revolutions that transformed for 40 years. We had something special. I mean, here, which
Right.
is weird.
Yeah.
Not to mention, Russia, like who went from potato farming through two world wars to, landing or orbiting outer space in
Yeah.
40 something years. So,
Yeah, which also the existence of the Soviet Union scared the shit out of Western capitalists. So that is why we got some of that good stuff too. So people should keep that in mind. Support socialist revolutions in other countries.
yeah, that's shit. If it's going to help somebody, well,
Yeah. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I think we got a lot here. Is there anything else you want to say about your race or the party itself or
no, I really want to push. If anybody's interested, please reach out. We're formulating a new Attleboro based local, which is where I'm from, running in that uh, town, not district. We have a Cambridge local that is thriving. If anybody has any questions, please reach out. All our information is on workerspartyformass.org. You can see our party program. You can see our weekly updates. Uh, uh, for as far as volunteerism goes, we've got the Apple and Bread Festival or Roses and Bread Festival coming
Ooh,
up. Apple and Bread, my goodness. um, Bread and Roses Heritage Festival,
yeah,
that's in Lawrence, Mass.
sweet.
Monday, 12 to 5. So you'll see
Nice.
representatives of the Workers' Party there. Um, uh, if uh, like I said before, my campaign is the campaign of the party. It's very simple.
Yep.
Um, you guys can reach out if you have any questions. I don't know. We were more or less just shooting the breeze. But all our information can be found there, and you can find me on Facebook as well under Andrew Nelson for state representative, second district, Bristol.
Sweet. Yeah, and Attleboro, that's kind of what, like southeastern
Oh yeah,
Massachusetts or
I apologize. Yeah, so Attleboro is like the last town into Rhode Island. It's on that
okay,
little tucked in southeastern corner. Pawtucket is the next town, and Providence is 15 minutes at
cool.
most. So yep.
So
We're
Rhode Island
one of the down.
comrades, if you want to come over and help out too.
Please do.
Yeah.
And we could start a Rhode Island chapter.
Hell
That would
yeah.
be fantastic. Uh, but yeah, so that's where we're at. We're progressing. We're rewriting our work every day, um, and trying to champion what we can champion. Uh, it's been a rough year, but hopefully it's going to be a good year. And I appreciate it, Joe, for extending the invite here, getting me
Yeah,
out
no
there.
problem. Yeah, we'll get this up, and that way, we've got like little over a month till election day, or 2 months, right?
Two
Yeah.
months, yeah, yeah.
Um,
I know
so
I keep doing that too.
um yeah, well, so this way people have a little time, but it's not too far from the day, and we'll hopefully get you to that 3%, and just keep building it. That's what we got to do.
Right on. Yeah, we need all the help we can get. Please reach out if you guys have any questions, and we'll have to jam one time.
Oh yeah. Sweet.
Yeah.
What do you play?
A little bit of everything, but mostly guitar.
Nice. Me too.
Yeah.
Sweet, dude.
All right,
All right.
Joe. Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for being here.
All right, on.
All
We'll
right, see
catch you
ya.
later.